Hello, talking about headaches today. And this was a lovely one. I loved working with this, and I hope you enjoy hearing about this success story. So, I was working with a lovely client in Australia, and I worked with her on quite a few issues. And so, when we worked on her headaches, we didn't work sessions immediately after each other. We would work on her headaches, and then we would work on something else. Then we would come back and work with her headaches. We did about 3 sessions in total, and she had chronic headaches. She was always taking over-the-counter headache pills to help her cope with them. She really, really had bad headaches. So what we did was we would sort of work on one session, and then I think I've said to you before in some other videos, the work we do is a bit like peeling an onion. So we would peel the onion relevant to the headaches. We would take off what was ever coming up for the headaches. And then what typically happens with this work is that you peel off a layer, and then the client goes away and they need to process and integrate this healing and to let go of everything that's left from the healing. And then you can do another session. And very often what happens is people have a very nice response after the first session, but then after a while the thing starts to push through again. And so it was with her headaches. I think that's why she was working with different things, but I think it was also that she would work with it and it would feel nice, and then it would start to come back, and then we would work with it again. So the classic peeling off of layers, because this work is a process. Some people have amazing, wonderful results. Some people, I see them once, I never see them again. And some people come back for repeat sessions. And that is because it's a process. Healing is a process. Just like it took you years to lay this issue down, and for this issue now to be an issue, we need to unravel the layers and take the layers right back to the source. And then we can see if the issue has gone completely. So talking about her headaches, I'm going to showcase 2 reports. There were 3 reports, but I'm talking about 2 reports because they were so completely diverse. The one is a very physical report, and one is a very kind of metaphysical report. I have no idea why. Don't ask me why. I don't know why these came up. I don't know why this happened. As Dr. Bradley Nelson says, I only work here. So the first report I'm going to showcase is I'm not going to talk about the whole report. I'm just talking about a snapshot of the report. And so what we talk about here is the brow chakra tested as being unhappy. Now, her brow chakra is a wheel of energy, which is sitting here above her. Sorry, this is a crown. I'm showing you the crown here. This is the brow chakra here. It's associated with our ability to sort of look forward and see the future, our intuition, right? It's also called our third eye. So the crown chakra and the brow chakra are the only 2 chakras that are not attached to the spine. The main chakras are wheels of energy, which are kind of Eastern origin. It comes from the East, this perception or this concept of chakras. And they're spinning wheels of energy that spin along the spine, except for the brow and the crown. So there were things supporting, if you like, the unhappiness or the imbalance of this brow chakra. And the things were trapped emotions of dread, nervousness, fear, horror. And once we had released those, we were able to balance the brow chakra. So the brow chakra was happy again. Then the crown chakra was also in a state of imbalance. And this was supported by, so the reason the crown chakra being unhappy, if we think this is a crown chakra, the things that were supporting the crown chakra's unhappiness and knocking it out of balance, one of the things was a post-hypnotic suggestion saying, I am in the wrong place. Now, post-hypnotic suggestions are very interesting. They are messages that have been fed to us by outside forces, and they happen, or they're able to slip in sometimes when we are in a state of almost in a trance state, which is why they're called post-hypnotic suggestions. So she had this post-hypnotic suggestion embedded when she was about 17 to 18. Typical behavior when teenage behavior is clubbing, listening to repetitive music, being in a bit of a trance state. And when that happens, this message is about being in the wrong place is able to be slipped in. So what happened is she had a message, a post-hypnotic suggestion, which is like a message of despair, really, designed to bring us down, to bring our vibrations down, to help cause unhappiness. So post-hypnotic suggestion of I'm in the wrong place, affected and supported by, so again, we say the layers, we have the unhappiness in the chakra, supported by the post-hypnotic suggestion, which was also enabled and supported by trapped emotion. So we released all of that. Then she had a spirit-to-spirit disconnection in her heart. And what we want is we want the physical body to be completely aligned with the spiritual body. We want them to be completely connected. And we also want the spirit body to be completely connected. We don't want any disconnections. And what she had was she had a connection of 83%. So in other words, her spiritual heart was communicating to itself at about 83% of capacity. The reason for this was heart walls. And heart walls are walls that we build around our hearts to protect our hearts. And she built these heart walls at about 16 to 17, at about 28 to 29, 17 to 18. And heart walls we built them for good reason. The subconscious mind believes that it serves us to build these walls around the heart in order to protect the heart from being hurt further. But what happens with heart walls is they also prevent abundance and love coming in. And when we project love out, it has to go through this energetic barrier, which means that we are not able to project love out as effectively as we could. So we released these heart walls, and then we balanced and released the disconnection. So that was one healing report. And after this session, she sent me a text saying, "It's been a week now with no headaches of huge proportions. I must admit I was a little skeptical at first, but after reading the science behind the healing's agendas, it all made perfect sense. We store so much emotion from our past." So her headaches had diminished, right, as a result of this session. Then a little later, maybe a month later, we ran another session. And this is a very physical session, because what came up here was misalignments in her vertebra. And there were misalignments of her vertebra at the top of her vertebral column up here. So the axis, the C2 axis, the axis also called the axis, the C3 and the C4. Now what happened was the C2 came up as being misaligned. And once we realigned C2, then C3 said, oh, I need a bit of attention. And then C4 said, oh, yeah, I need a bit of attention too. So all of the vertebrae, because the one is a bit knocked out, the others are also knocked out. So we have to realign a whole little system of vertebrae and bring them all back into alignment exactly as they should be. She also had temporal bone and parietal bone in her skull. She had these out of alignment. So in much the same way, when one bone in the skull is slightly out, it knocks the other one out, and then this in turn knocks the other one out. So we just had to go and realign all these bones in her skull and make each one perfectly aligned and perfectly positioned in relation to itself and in relation to its neighbors. So we did that in her skull. Then she sent me a message, probably a while later, a month or so later. She says, "As I served a customer the other day who had a heap of headache pills, I had to stop and think how long since I had had one." Now, she worked in a supermarket in Oz, where she used to buy the over-the-counter tablets for herself. "I suffered with headaches on a daily basis, and then I had a session or two with you, beautiful gifted Jen. It has taken a while to clear. It wasn't instant, but over the last months, they have become less and less. I notice I still carry the dreaded pills in my pocket at work for just in case, but I haven't had any headaches for ages. I seem to hand the pills to girls who have headaches and who are not as prepared as me. Now, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that just wonderful? I was over the moon when I read this. Honestly, I was so thrilled for her. Then she sent me more feedback, and this was probably again a couple of months later, and she had been to her iridologist. So she went to a naturopath, for all I know, she still does. She used to go to a naturopath, and he was also an iridologist. Now, just in case you don't know, iridologists are the people who look at our eyes. They look at our eyes, they look at the whole eye, but they also look, my understanding is they also look at the color part of the color part of the eye, the pupil, the round bit. It's called the iris. Yes, they look at the iris, and they look at the iris for, the iris carries signs. We lay down patterns in our irises and in our eyes in reaction to breaking bones or in reaction to illness or whatever it is. So she went to her naturopath, who's also an iridologist. She says here, "You're going to be so excited. I had an appointment with my naturopath today. He was also an iridologist. And he asked, 'You haven't had any headaches lately?' I replied, 'No.' And his response was, 'The cramp rings are gone.'" I had to read that about 4 times. I was beyond happy. Honestly, I was so thrilled. I was so happy for her. So she had laid down rings in her eyes, which told her iridologist that she had headaches. And the history of the headaches had now disappeared because the cramp rings were no longer visible in her eyes. And I just thought that was just incredible. I was so happy for her. So I talk about these case studies on my blog at www.jenedwards.com. That's Jen with a G. And I have lots of case studies like this that I talk about with the snapshots of the screenshots that people send me in their testimonials. So there's many things I've helped people with, and I'd love for you, if you have something you want help with, please go and have a look. Maybe there's something that I've helped someone with just like you, and maybe you could have the same result. Wouldn't that be amazing? I also write a lot in my book. I've written a book about the miracles of healing, the miracles of energy healing, and I've written lots of case studies in there as well. And that's available on my website, and you can buy it on Amazon. So if you have a pesky headache, or there's something going on in your life, some emotional issue, or something that you would like help with, I'd love for you to reach out. I'd love for you to reach out and see if we can help. I never know if I can help. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't, but I'm always so excited to give it my best shot. So I'd love to see you. I hope I see you. Take care. Lots of love.